If your goal is to become financially free, don't work more hours, make your hours more valuable. Create more value in a shorter period of time rather than offering more of your time to accumulate more value and more pieces of paper to live your life, to pay for the things that you need to pay for. And in this video, I want to go into this in depth. Let's get started. In this economy, what's valuable isn't money, it's your time, your skills, your energy, everything that you put towards creating value in the economy so that it can be sold to other people. So let's say you go to a job. The skills that you developed in order to be able to work that job is what's valuable. What you produce at that job is what's valuable. What you're being paid in is not valuable. We've been brainwashed to believe that money is valuable. We've been brainwashed to believe that the thing that we should be chasing our entire lives is pieces of paper when we already have what's valuable. We're chasing something that's not valuable by giving away something that is valuable. People want us to work for them because it allows them to build their businesses. It allows them to build whatever they really want to build on our backs. We give them our time, we give them our energy, we give them our effort, and they use that time, energy, and effort to compound into something much bigger. So let's say, for example, if you work at Walmart, then you're giving them your time, your energy, your effort, your skills, whatever you have, in order for them to be able to operate their business. If you weren't there, then they wouldn't be able to operate their business. On the other hand, Walmart can go to the bank and they can have the bank print more money. The thing that you find valuable, they can have the bank print more of it so that they can pay you to get you to work for them. The entire economy is built on people being shamed into working because nobody wants to be poor, of course, and the wealthy don't want everybody to be rich. They want poor people, and the poor people don't want to be poor. So that's the incentive to get everybody to keep working, because without our work, again, the economy would collapse. The economy wouldn't be worth anything. The US government is able to borrow money from other countries. The USA government is able to run its own central bank because of its workers. If its workers didn't exist, then the US government wouldn't have any power over the economy. So instead of working more time and giving your hours to your employer, work on sharpening the axe. And what I mean by this is if you're chopping down a tree, then you want to make sure that the axe, the tool that you're using, is as sharp as possible so you can be as efficient as possible. So your goal should be to create as much value in as little time as possible. And the best way to do this is to work for a result instead of working for a salary. If you work for a salary, you're guaranteed to only receive a certain amount of money each period of time that you work. So let's say you work an hour, you're going to get a certain number of dollars for that hour. On the other hand, if you work for a result, let's say you work for a commission or you start your own business, you can earn as much money as you want to. In the beginning, you may not earn as much, but over time, the results will compound and they'll build to a point where you're getting paid way more than whatever you would have gotten paid at that job. When you make your time more valuable, you're paid more for the exact same amount of time. So instead of working for, let's say, $20 an hour, maybe you work for a result that pays you $2,000, and getting that result takes you only 20 hours. In the case where you're working for a result where you're getting $2,000 for 20 hours of work, you're not getting paid up front, but your hourly wage is much higher because you're probably taking a lot more risk to get that final result. On the other hand, when you get paid a salary, you're guaranteed to get that salary and you're taking less risk because you are going to be paid no matter what. When you increase the value of your time, when you offer a result rather than offering, let's say, your time, you're getting paid a lot more because it's possible to give that result to your customer or to whoever you're working with in a shorter period of time. In the beginning, maybe it'll take you 100 hours to get $2,000 worth of revenue, but over time, it'll take you 50 hours, then it'll take you 20 hours, then it'll take you 10 hours. I worked with a company to get something done for my business, and I started talking to the person who was working with me. He ran the business, he was the owner of the business. He said that in the beginning, it would take him let's say 15, 20, 30 hours to get something done that would pay him $1,000. Today, it's taking him something like 2 hours, 3 hours. The result for the end customer is exactly the same or even better, but he's able to scale up his time. He's able to help more customers in the same amount of time. And for some customers, maybe it takes 15 minutes for him to produce that result and he'll get paid $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for that 15 minutes of work. When you work for an employer, you're probably not going to get paid these amounts of money because your employer is going to question you if you ask them for a 200, 300, $400,000 salary. They see that big number up front, but they don't see the results that you're producing for them. So they're going to question you and they're not going to want to pay you whatever you're worth for your time. When you give away your time in exchange for money, you can be the best worker in the world and you'll probably end up not doing very well financially because you have a finite amount of time. You can only be paid a certain amount. And even if you produce more, you're not going to get paid more because you've already signed your life away. You've already signed your time away. And you're giving that time to your employer. No matter what, they can get you to do whatever they want you to do in that time. I think one of the best things that you can do is go to YouTube and learn different kinds of skills so that you can get paid more for your time. As an example, I worked as a business analyst in the past, and the only reason why I was able to work as a business analyst is because I was willing to go on YouTube. I was willing to go on Udemy. I was willing to go on the internet to build new skills that I didn't have in the past. I learned Excel at a pretty deep level, and I was able to produce spreadsheets that other candidates for the job that I was taking weren't able to produce. One of the prerequisites to work the job that I worked as a business analyst was to create a dashboard to present data to management and to executives. Creating that dashboard initially took me 20 to 25 hours because I didn't have the skills required to make that spreadsheet, but I worked as hard as I could in order to develop those skills. And that 20 to 25 hours that I put into making that spreadsheet obviously paid off because I was able to learn more about spreadsheets and making dashboards. And at the end of it, I got the job. If I had said that I'm not wasting my time learning how to use spreadsheets and to use Microsoft Excel, I'm not going to spend my own time to do that. I'm going to use the employer's time to do that. I wouldn't have gotten the job. And at the end of it, the job gave me a raise of about 50% from the previous job that I was working in. I went from earning $24 an hour to $33 per hour with one quick job change. Instead of being able to develop their skills because they don't have the time, they're giving away their time to their employer. Most people are put into this very difficult position of having to work multiple jobs and having to do a side gig and not being able to develop their skills. Fortunately, I got very lucky. I was living with my parents. I didn't have to worry too much about the bills. And I was able to learn about Microsoft Excel very, very quickly. If you're not in that position, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to learn an entire product in a few days. You can take your time. You can take weeks. You can take months. Eventually, when you do figure out that product, that service, whatever that program is, you're going to get a raise because you're going to be offering more value for the time that you're giving to your employer. Whenever I go to a foreign country, I like to go to tours with the locals. And of course, the people who understand English are the ones who can do these tours. When I go on these tours, I like to talk to the tour guides and ask them how they learned English because the majority of people in those countries don't understand English. If you speak to the locals, most of them don't understand English, and you need something like Google Translate in order to translate whatever they're saying into English so that you can understand them. One of the tour guides that I spoke to told me that his friend convinced him to learn English because if you learn English, you're able to offer your services to tourists, and tourists will pay you a lot of money. I've noticed that the hourly wage in a lot of these countries are very low, but the tour guides are getting paid something like 10 times, 15 times the hourly wage because they understand English. Instead of working on a field to grow crops, to maintain crops, these tour guides took the initiative to offer their time, their value, their energy, their skills to tourists who have a higher amount of money to pay them. If these tour guides were working as farmers and they went to the person who owned the land that they were working on and they asked them for a raise, that person who owns the land probably won't give it to them because the value that they're providing for that farm is able to be replicated by anybody. Anybody can do the work as a farmer, but not many people know English in these countries. So these people are scarce. So don't work more hours, make your hours more valuable. You can work less, you can live your life, you can enjoy your time on earth rather than having to give all of your time to your employer. I think this also applies to Bitcoin because most people who are working harder are saving in pieces of paper, and those pieces of paper are losing value over time. If you put the time into learning how Bitcoin works and you store your value in Bitcoin, you're going to be in that position where your hours are paying you for years and decades into the future because any Bitcoin that you buy is going to continue to appreciate forever. So let's say, for example, if you put 1,000 hours into studying Bitcoin and the Bitcoin that you buy gives you a profit of, let's say, $100,000. Every hour that you put into studying Bitcoin is worth $100. So make your time more valuable, study more, learn more, always be learning because as soon as you stop learning, you start dying. As soon as you stop learning, you stop being able to increase your wage. It's extremely important to develop new skills that other people may not have so that you are ahead of the crowd. So again, don't work more hours, make your hours more valuable. Work on your skills so that you are able to provide more value per hour that you work.